Hi, we're Katie and Laura, and we're going to share what we did for our Servant Leadership Service Project. We both got to work at the Alpha Women's Center, there's a Des Moines location and an Ankeny location, and this semester we both just helped with the Ankeny location. We both really enjoyed our time there, and we're excited just to share with you what we were able to do. So I think we'll try to go ahead and pull up the PowerPoint if we can. Okay. So okay, so hopefully this is coming up for you guys. Oops, wrong one. Where am I? All right. So like Laura said, we were at Alpha Women's Center all this semester starting in January. So a little bit about Alpha Women's Center. Alpha Women's Center was founded in the 1980s by, I think it was, you said, a podiatrist who just really had a burden for women that were in pregnancies, whether they're intended or unintended, that just maybe were having some crisis in life or whatever, and just really burdened to help these women. So it's a nonprofit organization that is now currently supported by local churches in the area. It's volunteer and donation based. So basically, I mean, we're going to talk a little bit later about what we did, which was a lot of organizing donations, and it was just incredible the amount of donations that they actually get. But that's solely how they are able to provide resources such as food and clothing and some of those basic needs is through donation. So basically, they see themselves as a resource for pregnant women in need, and they're a connecting resource. So the women can come in and get clothing and food and counseling and a few other things at the center, but then Alpha does a fantastic job of connecting women to maybe like housing resources or job or medical resources that are all located here in the Des Moines area. And I just think that's really cool because a lot of times organizations kind of work by themselves, but Alpha really sees themselves as having the ability to connect these women to other resources, kind of like in a teamwork or collaborative way. Kind of their motto is offering hope for today and hope for tomorrow. And then we just found this quote in one of the Alpha resources, and it says, the Alpha Women's Center seeks to provide physical, educational, emotional, and spiritual resources for women in crisis pregnancy situations, regardless of their background and lifestyle. And I think for both of us having volunteered there, we could definitely say that we saw this in practice. Just every time that we were volunteering, we met so many different people from so many different backgrounds, different places, all coming to the resource center for help. So that's a little bit about the history and the mission there. This is just some pictures of the outside of their Des Moines location and then their Ankeny location. So the Ankeny one is the one that both of us volunteered at. It's located off of State Street and First Street. Yeah. And it actually used to be a dentist office building, but the dentist practice moved, and so the organization was able to take over or buy this property. And it's pretty cool. You can see it's 2 stories. So when you walk in, you can go upstairs, and there's kind of like a boardroom to the left, and then there's donation sorting room and storage room. And then there's what they call the burp closet, which we'll get into a little bit more, but that's basically where all the donations are out on shelves. And then if you go downstairs, to the left is a waiting room, and then to the right are all these different individual client rooms where they can meet one-on-one with some of the volunteers there just to discuss their situation. So that's pretty cool.
Okay, some of the social issues that Alpha addresses would be things like unexpected pregnancies, homelessness, poverty, financial crises, nutrition issues. And basically, when a woman walks in, she fills out some paperwork, and then we just have the chance to sit down and talk with her and find out her particular situation. And really, it can be a number of these. A lot of times, obviously, like unexpected pregnancies is probably one of the biggest social issues that we interact with at Alpha, but also poverty. Just a lot of those women have literally nothing and really no place to go. And then because of that, that also brings in social issues like homelessness and nutrition and just not being able to find adequate food. So it's been really neat to see just how Alpha is able, either they are able to provide for some of those needs, like we do have baby food and stuff like that. But also, as Katie mentioned earlier, Alpha really takes seriously the opportunity to connect women to many resources. I was talking with my supervisor one time, and she said that she had a lady come in, and I don't know how many kids the lady had, but she hadn't heard of the WIC program before. And Mrs. Felderman was just so excited to be able to introduce that to her and give her a resource that would help her to meet some more of her needs. And so, although Alpha really can't do a whole lot for homelessness situations, we do refer people to places like the House of Mercy, other things like that. And so, while we might not be able to exactly address a social issue, we do attempt to provide as many resources as we can to do that. But definitely unexpected pregnancy is probably the biggest one that we deal with.
A lot of times, and again, it varies for every client situation, but a lot of times they come in and they just don't have either, they may be in just a not good marriage situation or a relationship with a boyfriend or family situation, whatever it is. And Alpha really gets to be kind of that support system that they're lacking from their family, just because in pregnancy, it's, there's a whole unknown future out there. And so it's really cool when you're meeting one-on-one with the clients, you really get to just come alongside them and be with them throughout their journey. And it's a really neat opportunity. So our project.
So we had the 15 hours to complete. I think both of us went beyond that and are hoping to work there over the summer as well. Alpha Women's Center in Ankeny is open Mondays and Wednesdays, and so we both, Mondays just worked best for my schedule and Wednesdays worked for Katie. So we would go in for like about 3 hours or so a week, and we just like every single time was totally different, and I really enjoyed that. We would do some of the same things, but it would be different order, different clients, stuff like that. So we got to do some client support, which is really just interacting with the women who came in, just talking with them, hearing about their lives and their situations. It was really fun to see some of the babies that they brought in, who either they'd come to Alpha in the past and had already interacted with our supervisor and whatnot, and then now that the baby was born, they were bringing the baby in to get clothes and stuff, and so that was just really, really neat. We were able to just talk with them and hear more about their lives and just learning different ways that we could help. We did a lot with donations, as Katie mentioned. Our stuff comes in from, can you switch back? I don't know. Our donations, like that's how everything is supported, is through the donation system. And so we had to do a lot as far as sorting the donations. And just about every single time I would go into that back room, there would be this huge amount of clothes, and Alpha really seeks to provide quality resources. And so that requires someone going through, finding the stuff that has rips or stains or whatever, just that's old, stuff like that. And so just about every week we would spend some time in the sorting room, just going through stuff. And then once we get clothes that we actually can use, rather than giving individual pieces of an outfit at Alpha, we put outfits together. So hopefully y'all can see the right slide.
But no, sorry about that.
Yeah, technical difficulties. Anyway, so there's 2 of the outfits for a little girl that we put together, but basically we just match the sizes, whether it's 0 to 3 months, 6 months, 18 months, whatever. We just match those and put outfits together, and then we put them on the shelf for the clients to come in and look through. And so a big piece of what we did early on in the semester was organizing the donations, as far as switching from all the winter clothes that were on the shelf to the spring clothes. And so that involved taking stuff off the shelf, storing it, pulling out stuff that was in storage for spring and summer and putting that out. And then just going through those clothes again, making sure the outfits look nice, stuff like that. And that's a part of the BERP program. And the way the BERP program works, do you know what the acronym stands for?
Not at the moment.
I can't remember. It's an acronym, but it has to do with providing resources. And the way it works is moms are basically earning BERP bucks to use in the closet to get. They can get some of those outfits, they can get baby food, they can get diapers, they can get shoes, toys, blankets, stuff like that. And the way they earn those bucks is by doing things like taking their baby to doctor's appointments.
Prenatal care.
Yeah, prenatal care. They can bring in church bulletins from any church that they've gone to. What are some of the other things that they can do?
They can read books, certain specific books. They can memorize verses. They're just a whole different host.
They can take, if they take classes at Alpha Women's Center as far as like training for parenting or the pregnancy, stuff like that, they can earn stuff through that. So they really try to make it a very simple program that's definitely, and it's very doable.
But the whole point too is, even though we want to be able to help these women, we definitely don't want dependency, I guess. And so the whole point is we just don't want to give necessarily out free stuff, but we want them to be able to work and put in towards that. And the BERP program is a really great way to do that. And
yeah, and it's been very successful, like as far as I've seen.
Yeah.
So we got to help with that and help the ladies figure out how many bucks they had and help them figure out how to use that, and introduce them to the clothing closet. We did a lot of paperwork. Every time a client comes in, we have to mark down that they came in and what we did with them, stuff like that. So I help with that, and then just some various cleaning jobs around the place, keeping it nice. So yeah, it changed every week what we did. We almost always sorted through donations every week, but we also got a good mix in of other things and just really enjoyed our time there.
Yeah, because Alpha is definitely walk-in based, so you just never know. I can remember like one time I went in and it was literally almost the whole time nonstop, people coming in and out. As far as clients, it can be people coming in and out with donations, or even there's been a couple times where I was there and there was nobody there and we just sat and worked on donations and organizing the whole time. And I don't think I've ever gone through so many baby clothes as I did this spring. So those are actually, I can't remember if you said that, but these pictures on our slide, the 2 outfits on the top are actually 2 that Laura put together. It's kind of interesting just because you learn a lot about what people donate when you're sorting through donations. We don't want to just give necessarily junky clothes, and so sometimes clothes come together and they're in outfits, but maybe the onesie or whatever has a big stain on it, and so we would move that to give to like Salvation Army or whatever. But then you have to be kind of creative in coming up with outfits. So I think you're pretty creative with those two, which is good. And then this is the waiting room from a couple years ago, actually. But it just varies on how many people are there or aren't there, whether you use it. So future directions, like Laura said, we're both planning on continuing to volunteer at Alpha throughout this summer, and we'll just see what happens in the future. But because this was just our first, we spent a lot of time either in training or really just working with the donations. And I think both of us would love to get more involved with working individually with the clients. You have to do some more training for that, as far as learning how to work through the information with them. And obviously, I think it's something that comes with a lot of experience poured into it. But just knowing how to better help the clients. And so I think both of us would really like, as we get more involved with Alpha, to have a lot more interaction with the clients. Also, like we kind of talked about earlier, of how Alpha is almost kind of like a support system and does a lot of counseling with these ladies, but helps to connect them to other resources. I can remember one time a mom came in, and I went through like this whole booklet of resources in Des Moines. I was like photocopying pages for her and highlighting ones that would be applicable to her. Like there was a free ride transportation service, there's free housing, just all these different things. And so I was going through and highlighting. But I think it'd be really cool to actually get involved maybe with some of those services too, just to kind of broaden my horizons on what all we have here to help in Des Moines. That'd be really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this summer, just my schedule is changing a little bit, so I won't be able to work at the Ankeny location, but I'm planning to go down to Des Moines every so often. And there they do, just because of the nature of it, it's like actually in like a big city or a bigger city. And so they do a lot more of counseling with the clients. Whereas at Ankeny, we do a lot more with donations. And so I'm really looking forward to doing that, to working with some more of the supervisors and just learning from them about how to go through the process with the clients and stuff like that. So I'm really excited just to be even more hands-on in that area and to learn a lot. One of the things about servant leadership that's really challenged me is just simply listening to other people. And so I'm excited to once again have that opportunity a lot more often, just to listen to someone else's perspective, to hear them for who they are, and just to learn in that way. But yeah, like Katie said, I think it would be really neat just to explore some of the resources that we are passing on to those ladies, of just seeing what their services are like, learning about their mission and their desire to help people, and just really growing in that way myself, of having that knowledge to share and learning from those other people who are actively serving and just watching them do that. So
Haha, hashtag servant leadership.
Hey, that was our project.
So kind of to tie this all together, when we both started this, it was kind of like this, okay, we're both taking servant leadership, we're both in the nursing program, like we need to get our volunteer hours in. And there maybe, for me at least, there wasn't a lot of a connection between why we were volunteering in servant leadership. But I think one of the last things that we were just going to cover is what we learned through it, and then what we learned through it about servant leadership, which is why I have this cool slide. So I guess kind of tying in with what Laura said, even though we didn't maybe have necessarily a ton of interaction with the clients, it was so eye-opening to me to see the needs that we have just here in Ankeny. I've been in a community health class this semester for nursing school, so I can just say I think this whole semester has been so eye-opening on the needs that we have just around us. And I can very easily prejudge a person just based on what they look like. And so learning to get rid of those biases, and I think that is definitely a key in servant leadership, is realizing like we're all humans, we all have equal value in that, and like looking for ways that I can better serve and looking for their needs specifically. Like for this population, yeah, one of their big ones is their crisis pregnancy, but you don't know what's going along with that situation. And so learning, I guess what I'm trying to say is that a servant leadership, kind of tying into Laura's thing about listening, it's not just kind of a generic listening, it's a very intense listening for what that person individually, what they need. And so that was a really big challenge to me, because I don't necessarily always do that. I listen more to hear maybe what I want to hear or what I think I'm going to hear, versus listening to hear what that individual really is truly telling me their needs are. Another thing, we're both in nursing school, and I think it's especially as we get into maybe working in a hospital situation, depending on what floor or something like that, we're going to be encountering people that are in these kind of situations all the time, and it's super tempting to want to maybe not treat them as well because of what we think their situation is. But having worked on this side of the perspective of working alongside of these ladies, coming along as their support, like I really want to take that with me into my nursing practice, and be able to do the same as a nurse in the hospital, and not just maybe treat them differently or not treat them well because of my own biases or judgment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this class has been a really good experience for me, and I think one of the things I really enjoyed about doing it at Alpha was our supervisor, Mrs. Felderman.
Yes.
She's hilarious, but just the chance to see her heart and the way she just pours into those women, and just being from a very different walk of life from those ladies. It's easy to look at and just be like, why are you making those decisions? Like, you're not helping yourself. Like, this is getting you nowhere. And like Mrs. Felderman isn't afraid to work with them, but she doesn't do it in a way that that hurts them. She's very supportive of them as an individual and as a person, and she just pours out love on those ladies. And so it's just really cool to see her heart and to see how you can serve someone even if you don't agree with the choices that they're making. Like, you can still be a help to them. And so that was just really neat for me. And like I said earlier, kind of gave it away, but listening was definitely a huge part of this whole entire class for me. I can't remember at this point which book or thing that we read that mentioned it. But it just mentioned how servant leaders need to be people focused, and how a large deal of that comes from listening. And it's the whole people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And a large part of that is just being willing to listen to them, letting them share what's going on in their lives. Because when you make that time and that effort to really devote your focus on someone, it makes them feel like an individual with worth, which they are, because they're a person and they do have worth in that way. And so that was really good for me to learn and to get a little bit of practice with it at Alpha. And I continue just to use that this summer as I continue to work with Alpha, but also as I continue on in the nursing program. I'm just starting nursing, so I have a long ways to go. But I am really looking forward to taking those concepts and using it to serve others as I lead. And yeah, just the whole concept of the servant leadership model, it's definitely been something that I've agreed with and been very much for, but I never really took a whole lot of time to think about why leaders should have a servant attitude. And so this class has really just given me a much bigger scope for that, and just solidified some of my own thoughts on leadership and its value. So yeah.
Okay, so sorry our technology here is not the greatest, but hopefully you're able to follow along with the little PowerPoint that we did have. And that was our servant leadership project at Alpha Women's Center. So thank you.